So I work on gut peptides, and I can tell you, we're going to have lunch soon. Your gut peptides are going to scream into action. Most of us do not want to hear anything about our gastrointestinal tract. We are only reminded of our own vulnerability when our stomach and intestine doesn't work. When it doesn't work, it either backs up, and we know what happens with vomiting, or it seems to accelerate too far and too fast, and we're looking around for the nearest toilet. So when I tell people I'm an endocrinologist that works on gut hormones, people right away tend to sort of move away a little bit and are not really receptive to the message. So how do I get to be standing in front of you? It turns out there were two examples that I had that you could patent observations that were unique and perhaps develop those into inventions that had some value. The first was my father. So my father, Ernest Drucker, if you go to the USPatentOffice.gov website, he was sort of a Walter Mitty of invention and patents. He had patents on solar energy. He had patents on restructuring urban accommodation into modular units. He had patents on transportation. So you would think I would have grown up in a house that was, I think, a fertile ground for innovation. But it turns out I would never be the person that would quit university and go work in a garage. And why not, you might ask? So the reason is that my father would frequently go through cycles of success, make a few $1 million, try and multiply the benefits of success, and then go bankrupt. So very often we had to sell our house and move into an apartment building, and the garage just wasn't a good space since it was shared with a lot of other cars. So I grew up with a lot of uncertainty and ambivalence around this whole, invention, patent sort of business. But when I was a fellow in Boston, we made an interesting observation. My supervisor took my notebooks away, filed a patent, and I was reminded that in life sciences, if you have a really cool observation, it might lead to a therapeutic innovation, and I became interested again. Now, most of what we do in life sciences is about failure. We have in my lab, I describe as good days and bad months and bad years. Seriously. So it's really the good days as a scientist that need to sustain you. And this is a biblical kind of thing. You can look, the Egyptians, we're always preparing for the lean years, etc. So how do you deal with this? And as a conservative person whose father went bankrupt several times, I like to play with the house's money. So I would keep my job as an endocrinologist. I would apply for grants. But that rule about setting aside 10% of what you have to maybe do that high risk, high rolling thing, that was my strategy. Take 10, 15% of my grant funding and do some crazy experiment that had a very low likelihood of paying off. But when you do that, if you play enough, if you buy enough lottery cards, if you do enough crazy experiments, every once in a while you hit a winner. And then what do? Because most physicians, as you've heard Cameron say, we're pretty ignorant about technology development and commercialization. So ask the wise people around you, the men and women who know what they're doing. No one will shut the door on a younger person who comes in asking for advice. And I was the beneficiary of tremendous advice from the scientific community, from the business community, from my colleagues, etc. And I've never turned anyone away and invite anyone who wants to come talk to me about this. We're all a community and we're all willing to share, and we need to take advantage of that. Finally, don't be afraid of adversity and setbacks. I was telling Cameron the other day, one of the greatest signs of success in this roller coaster up and down business of commercialization is when you get sued. When the lawyer comes, when the bailiff comes, when you get served with papers. For most of us, that terrifies us, the thought of that experience. That's a sign of success. You have something of value that somebody wants a piece of. And so I always say you really know you're successful when you've gone through the obstacles, when you've made the ups and downs, when you've climbed back up every time, and you're now in a position where other people want a piece of your action. So don't be afraid of the contact sport that commercialization is. You're all tough, you're all far better than you think you are, and you're all primed for success. Thanks very much.